YouTube, we are back. Another week, another video. Staying true to my promise, 1 week per video. New Year's resolution. Let's get into it. Today's video is going to be on top 10 settings you need to have turned on. My name is Hunter Paulson. I'm the founder of Polymedia LLC, and I wish I knew these settings earlier. I have filmed sports at the highest level. I've filmed endurance races. I've filmed athlete spotlights, many documentaries, and the list goes on. But these top 10 settings right here are going to make your footage either look better, easier to get the shot, and come out cleaner. So let's get into it. Here we go. Let's hop right into the menu. I'm filming on the A7S III and you are looking at this camera, which is the Sony A1 Mark II. So the menus should be very similar, if not spot on, but let's hop right into it. First things first, this dial right here, you can't really see it, but you need to be on manual. Do not change anything. You need to stay on manual and then adjust your settings off that so you have the most versatile of your camera. First, we're gonna hop onto the video symbol and then go over to image, down. I would say on the S one because that gives you the most, it's the biggest file size, but it's also the easiest to look through when you're editing because the file is so much bigger than rather compressed. Now, if you do have a slower MacBook, I wouldn't recommend this. I would probably go down to the HS because that's more of a compressed file size and your computer will be able to handle it a little more. But it still might lag a little bit. Going down to the moving settings, I usually film on 60 most of the time, but obviously if you're filming on 60, you want to be on 120 shutter speed, but that's not always the case if you're not shooting with an ND filter and you're shooting in broad daylight. So always double your frame rate. For example, 30, you want to be on 60 shutter speed. Here, you want to be 120. If we were shooting on 120 frames, you would be on 240, which they don't have, so you go 250. Sweet, but that's besides the purpose. Hopping into our first actual tip, yes, I shoot in S-Log. I actually think this is beneficial. I don't care if people say this slows down the process. It literally doesn't. It's one easy click and then some minor adjustments in the footage. So if you're on the new firmware update and you click on the menu button and then you go profile picture, which is right here, there is no more PP8. So to find that, you need to go menu, go to the video settings, go over to image, go down, log shooting, and you want to change it to flexible ISO on. Make sure you're on here. That will give you the most dynamic range, which let's say you're shooting in an overexposed environment and your footage is overexposed, you'll be able to bring that exposure down in post, which will give you a better clean look, where if you weren't, you really can't fix the footage in post, and yeah, the footage is kind of just trash, unfortunately, and there's nothing you can do. So that's why I always preach shooting in log will help you in the long run because it could save you. Hopping into our second one, we want to go down to the AF, MF and go over. Transition speed and the shift sensitivity needs to be on 5. Also have this on AF assist. Obviously you need to have that on. This needs to be quick because if you shoot sports, you know, obviously baseball, football, basketball, lacrosse, you name it, very fast moving probably, and your camera needs to be able to adjust accordingly. So I would have this on 5 and I would have this on 5 and I would have this on. For my focus area, this isn't one I was going to talk about, but I stay on zone. This is kind of the biggest range. I think this gives you the best range to focus, and it's not too big, not too small, and the focus really never misses, especially when you're getting these better and high quality Sony cameras. The focus is honestly top tier and it is sharp. My next big one is up here. We want to go here to the video panel, go all the way down, and then we want to go shooting display, emphasize record display on. This is basically going to give you a red ring around your camera whenever you record. So if I was to record right here, obviously red ring around, that shows I am recording, which is very helpful because you never know when you're not recording. And while we're jumping into this is we want to go down here, go over to the toolbox, operation customize, and then we want to go to right, if I can find it, record with shutter. So basically, instead of reaching all the way back here to record on the A1 Mark II, I can just tap my shutter as I was taking a photo to basically record, which is way easier when I have my hand gripped on the camera and I'm on the go and I'm filming pitch after pitch, like play after play, depending on what sport you're playing or filming. You're not playing anything because we're behind the camera now and we're all washed. But this makes it a ton easier because I'm not having to reach and then take my hand all the way to the camera. It's just so much more functional in my mind. For our next effect, we are going to go over to back to the AF and MF, and then we are going to go over, and we're going to go down to peaking display. And then basically on the camera I'm filming on right now, I have it on, so it's perfect. So basically this gives a red line outline to what's in focus. So obviously turn this on. I turn it on to mid because the high can drain your battery pretty good, and the low you really can't see, and the mid is kind of just perfectly in the middle. And I turn on red because this gives a bright outline so you can see exactly what's in focus. For the next effect, we are going to go over to, where are we going? We're going down to shooting display, and then obviously, for our next effect, we are going to go back to the camera icon. We are going to go down to marker display, and then we are going to turn our marker display on. We are going to keep center marker off. I don't like that. We are going to turn on guide frame. So basically when you go back, it shows white lines. So I'm going to turn it off just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And then so basically there's like these small black lines. They're very hard to see. So I think it is way easier to keep, especially when we're filming for social media, it is really easy to keep our subjects in the middle so we could film for Instagram format while shooting vertical. And that is a whole lot easier to see, to keep our subject right in that direct middle and just track them the whole time. I mean, I film a ton of baseball. They're running a ton of bases. Balls are being thrown across the infield, etc. So this is a small hack. Keep your subject in the middle at all times. For our next effect, we are going to go down to the blue emoji, the playback button emoji. Go to delete, and then we are going to go over. And then basically, this is going to be off for you probably. So it's going to look like this. And it's probably going to be on cancel first. So we want to move that to delete first. And then we are going to turn delete pressing twice on. You have to be careful with this because you can delete stuff you've already filmed, which is the hard part, but I've gotten really good about it. So basically, it's going to give you a little notification. If delete, confirmation screen, target image deleted. Be careful not to accidentally delete stuff you've already recorded. Yes. So on this one, if I was to delete something, I would go, oh, that's touch operation. So if I was to delete something, I would go playback button, and then I would click delete, and it would already be on the delete, and I can just click delete again to delete that clip. Rather than hitting, let's just say I had the settings off, I would go playback, I would hit delete, but it would start on the cancel, and then I would have to go up to the delete and then delete right from there. When it's so much easier when I can just hit playback, delete, I know it's gone. Perfect. And this is gonna save you a lot of time on the back end because you can delete clips on the fly. When you get to your desk, you're not looking just through a whole bunch of stuff. You know everything you have is stuff you're gonna keep. And a thing to like help you out for this is, let's say I got a home run on camera. Exactly. Perfect. It's hell overexposed. Let's keep rolling. Let's say this is a home run. What I do to ensure I don't delete it back on accident too quick is can't really see it now, but I will put my hand over the screen and I will record for about a second. So that's a clip. So I know right there that if I was to accidentally go back and delete 2 clips back to back rather than delete the clip I wanted to, I will know that that black clip is going to get deleted, which is going to save me and not delete the actual clip I want. Because I don't know if you know, but you cannot rewind time and get that time back. So if you delete it, it's gone forever. Another thing, going back to the S-Log 3 for the Sony cameras, for the A1 Mark II, which is what you're seeing on this camera, we are going to go up to, where are we going? Image, go over to log. So basically we are shooting in log footage. So this camera has something called dual native base ISO. And the camera you're watching this on, which is the A7S III, has dual native base ISO as well. Most cameras usually have this nowadays. The ranges always fluctuate. So that's where you kind of have to look up and do some research. But on the camera that I'm filming on, which is the A7S III, the dual native ISO is 640 and 12,800. On the A1 Mark II, the dual native is 800 and I believe 5,000 for the second stop. So this basically is going to give you a clean image. So basically, obviously, the higher you raise your ISO, the more noise you're going to get in your image. So Sony has built something which is crazy because 12,800 ISO, I don't know if you know, is a lot of grain. Where right when you get from 10,000, that right below 12,800, and you jump to that 12,800, the image goes clean. There is not a speck of grain in your image. It is the clearest image you could possibly get. So if I was you, I would always be recording in these dual native base ISOs. I film in them every single time. I'm either at the first stop or the second. Kind of depends on, you know, the lighting situation. Like if it's later in the day and the sun's going down, I'm gonna bump it up to 12,800 and then just use an ND to crank down my exposure to get my shutter speed right for that motion blur. But obviously every lighting scenario is different and you just kind of go with the flow. Another setting I want to go with is, we want to go down to, where is it? It's right here we go. Image stabilization, steady shot. If you don't have this on, I would definitely turn it on. Steady shot is on active. The A1 Mark II has something called dynamic active, which gives you a hella crop, but I'm pretty steady with my hands, so I don't need that. But most of you are gonna have this off. I would turn it on to active. The only thing is, if you're filming in 120 frames per second, you cannot have this on. So that's why I recommend filming in 60 frames per second. But hey, if you are really steady with the cam and you don't need this, hey, by all means, 120, go for it. 120 frames per second, those file sizes take up a lot of room. That is the only con of them, but the footage, you can get buttery smooth slow-mo. My last tip is the operation and dial custom. So for my video settings, I have my one, which is the top right, the trigger right next to my shutter. I have that as my shutter speed because that is the most common messed with setting out of all three. And it's just right next to the record button, so right before a shot, I can always nail it down. If I'm not using an ND, which I don't have one right now because all my stuff got stolen, so I'm trying to buy that back soon, so bear with me. So you always want to make sure you're shooting in plus 1.0 to 1.7. That'll give you the best exposure possible for post-production. For my shutter, I always keep it here. Obviously, it's very convenient, and the focus button's next to it, and I can change my custom one, my frame rate, depending on what I'm filming. My f-stop, I really don't change it from f2.8, so I have this dial right here as my f-stop, but I always keep it f2.8. I mean, I paid for it, so I'm gonna use it. And then my ISO is this ring right here. You just spin it, and then you go up, and then you spin it, it goes back down. So I think those are the best placements for those three things, because those are the main three things. Obviously, you need to be shooting in manual to have the most flexible range with those, because if you're shooting in the S, the A, or the P, they obviously all have their thing, like they prioritize, which is fine, and I would shoot in manual because that is the way to go. And you need to learn your camera and just know the basics. That is pretty much the basics. And another tip, I usually keep auto white balance. I mean, I paid thousands of dollars for these cameras. I think they're smart enough with all the technology in them to know when and what white balance to use. And I'm filming outside a bunch. All like the lighting settings are always changing with cloud coverage and stuff. So I can't be switching from cloudy to daylight all day long. I just think it's smart to leave it on that all day and just let it do itself. I mean, we paid all this money. I think they're smart enough. That is the top 10 settings I would turn on. When I first started, I had absolutely, I think I had like maybe 2 of those on, but as I've like learned, those have saved my little ass in shoots. They obviously make sure you can nail down everything and you won't miss anything, and they just make your shot look a ton better. So that's pretty much it. That's with this week's YouTube video. We fly out to Houston tomorrow. And yeah, we have a weekend in Houston shooting a baseball team from Connecticut, and it's gonna be a fun time. So appreciate y'all watching. Until the next one, see ya.